Hello and welcome. This is a recording that I did with a Dr. Pelto. He interviewed me. He's from Central Mass Podiatry out in Worcester. And at Central Mass Podiatry, they make use of leading technologies and state-of-the-art equipment to provide their patients with full spectrum of care. Their practice houses X-ray technology for instant evaluation of foot injuries, and when you arrive at their facility, you'll be captivated by the relaxed atmosphere run by friendly and knowledgeable staff.
Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Dr. Donald Pelto, and today I have Mr. Gary Krakoff, and he is the pharmacist. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Gary, we've been talking the last couple of days and recently about COVID and everything that's happened. You've done a couple of other interviews about this and about the health situation. What are your thoughts about the whole current situation that we're living in?
One, I think it's insane. I'm glad that we finally started doing what we're supposed to do, and it seems to be having a positive effect. I think we will work our way out of this. But what I hope people are being cautioned, once some of the restrictions start coming down, that doesn't mean we can get about our business and lives the way we were. Life is going to be different for a while, because as we get out there, there's still going to be people who have it and don't know they have it, and we don't want to have everyone get re-exposed and have to go back to where we are or where we were.
Yeah.
I think, and I think there's going to be a silver lining to this a little bit in certain areas. I think talking to a lot of my clients, a lot of people are realizing their life was too stressed, too packed, their kids' lives were too packed, and it's nice having dinner once in a while with everyone, and it's nice taking a break and going out for a 10-minute walk or just sitting on the front steps. So that'll be a positive, and I think hopefully we'll change a little bit, that we're not going to be looking for everything to be the least expensive we can find it, so everything gets sourced at whatever country can produce it for the lowest price.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll go back to manufacturing of everything should be in multiple areas, because there's going to be a hurricane or a typhoon or an outbreak somewhere, and the whole world really goofed up the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think really stressed people. When we were spoiled, you could go to the supermarket and you could always get what you wanted. Now, there isn't a shortage of food. It's just the supply chain is off. And people got really anxious when they went in and there were no bananas. You know, we can live without a banana. We can't always have what we want.
Yeah.
But I think another big thing is that we all learned how to finally wash our hands appropriately, which we should be doing every day, every time we wash our hands, even in the middle of the summer. So hopefully next year, if we all do what we're supposed to do, if we don't feel well, we'll stay home from work, not be, I have to go to work, and we'll wash our hands and stay a good social distance. We might be able to get the cases of flu and flu death way down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which would be wonderful. We've accepted 28,000 deaths every single year as normal. You know, that's terrible.
Yeah. Wow. So we're gonna, for those that are watching this program, Gary, where do you live? Where are you at? Your pharmacy?
The pharmacy is in Waltham, on Main Street in Waltham. It's Johnson Compounding and Wellness. And we stopped filling regular prescriptions about 20 years ago. We're a custom compounding. We're a compounding pharmacy and a sterile compounding pharmacy. And then the whole rest of the store is a health and wellness center.
So for those people that don't know what if you've never received a compounded medication, who can get them? Who should get them? Do you need a doctor's order?
Yep. Anything that's made in the pharmacy requires a prescription from your doctor. We do a lot of, if a person has trouble swallowing tablets or capsules, we can then, if the ingredients are available, we can make it into a topical or a solution. For children, That's very, very important because a lot of medicines aren't available, or a lot of the medicines have a lot of things. It's amazing how a lot of the tablets have gluten and lactose
Hmm.
and a lot of dyes that people have a reaction to. So we can make it very, very clean. Also, if you need a specific dose and that dose isn't available, we can custom make the dose to exactly what you and your doctor feel is necessary.
So those are traditional medications, but in different formats. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? Okay.
And also we do vitamin blends to put if there's a specific amount of certain nutrients that are needed,
Hmm.
or what's very big now is the topical pain medication. It doesn't have narcotics in it, and it can, depending upon the base, it'll go to different depths through the skin into the tissue, depending upon the inflammation, and you need a local anesthetic in there. So there's so much that can be done. There's compounding of, there's a drug naltrexone, which is used for narcotics,
Hmm.
for addiction. And low dose naltrexone is a very low dose, is very, very helpful for autoimmune diseases and for pain, but it's not a narcotic. And so that's something, it's sort of a repurposing or a different use of a drug for a total different condition.
Interesting. And who do most of these prescriptions come from? Are they from because you're a naturopathic physician, or is
Yeah.
it a
No,
private practice?
it's from the mainstream doctors.
Okay.
And this is what pharmacy used to be. Pharmacy used to be all compounding. Then the big pharmaceutical companies came and compounding almost went away. And now we're realizing we're all different. And there isn't one right dose for everybody. So it's starting to go back to what's right for you.
Hmm. And I think that could segue us a little bit into the whole you said about DNA testing. We
Yeah.
talked about that. And is that relate to how each individual person is different and how their medication should be different?
Well, that's a part of it. And genetically, they've mapped the genome, and now we can do, there's all different types of genetic testing. One is to predict will offspring have a disease, and that's very important. There's genetic testing to check some of the pathways for how we metabolize different classes of drugs, which is very, very good. And that especially is useful for depression and anxiety, because if you have a genetic imperfection and you can't process drug A appropriately, that means the side effects will be much higher. Why even give drug A if you know that? You move on to a different drug class.
Hmm.
What I've been working with a bunch of researchers for about 3.5, 4 years now is on nutrigenomics. That's looking at the DNA and the enzymes that each gene can have an effect on. So we can look, it's amazing now what I learned in pharmacy school that we had to memorize and then forget. Now we can do something about it. We're looking at pathways right in the down to the mitochondria in the
Mm.
cells. So by seeing the symptoms in the lab work and genetically where a person has a genetic weakness, we can a lot of times identify different metabolic pathways that are struggling or not working well. And there's a lot of natural things we can do. A lot of times it's just cofactors, some of the nutrients, the vitamins, and help those pathways work better, which then can allow them to lower the drugs, the amount of drugs. And a lot of times it's almost like you have a Swiss watch with a lot of gears and a few of them are dirty. The watch doesn't keep time.
Hmm.
So the answer isn't to wind it harder. The answer is to clean up the gears, and then the
Okay.
watch works better.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking high level. I want to bring this down a little, Gary,
Oh,
and I can
okay.
see.
Bring it down. How can you have identical twins
Uh,
and one of them winds up with cardiac problems and the other one doesn't?
okay.
Their
How come?
genes and their makeup and their cells are identical
Hmm.
down to the atoms. And the reason is your epigenetics, your lifestyle, your
Uh,
stress level, your food. We're a machine like our car. If our car needs 91 octane fuel, we only will put in 91 octane fuel. We won't add water to the tank
hmm.
or put kerosene in there. Our body's the same way. We have to give our bodies the right octane fuel, and then it'll repair itself a lot of times and work much better.
Okay.
And so looking at the genes and the pathways, we can help determine what's a better fuel for that body so
Perfect.
the engine runs better.
Now, is this fuel, is it nutrition? Is it rest? Or is it medications or compounded things or things you purchase? Or is it everything?
I would say yes and maybe to all of them.
Okay.
One, if if you have trouble absorbing zinc, because that's one of the pathways, you might need to take a higher number of milligrams of zinc, and that could be an over-the-counter product. And now that we will know that, we can help you get that in there. But what if your problem, and you probably run into this in your practice, a lot of people, if they're super stressed and they're comfort eating and they're not sleeping and they're not moving, they could have an awful lot of pain. And the answer isn't a prescription or a compound or even a nutritional supplement. It's lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is lifestyle because that's what triggers a lot of these problems. And if we change our lifestyle and our diet and our outlook and our stress level where we can, a lot of conditions will get better.
So that's now we can segue kind of into how you went in from pharmacy into naturopathic medicine. That's what it sounds like. That's where your passion is really helping people. So explain for those that have never been to a naturopath. There's not many around. So
No,
how can they
hopefully
find someone and
that'll
tell
be
me about why you
growing.
couldn't do it?
And we'll have more of them. I started out, my parents bought a pharmacy right before I was born, so I grew up in pharmacy. I love people, I love retail, so pharmacy was perfect, the corner drugstore. But once I got out and I started looking at a lot of our customers that I had known for years and decades, some of them were better, but most of them, mainstream was just maintaining them. Nobody was
Yep.
getting healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me looking further. And I bumped into my mentor, Dr. Jack Hins, and I started looking with him at getting a different education as to how does the body really work and what can we do to support the body, not suppress a symptom or force the body. So that led me that way. Um, the naturopathic approach is nice because it's a specialty, but it isn't a specialty like a neurosurgeon
Mm-hmm.
or a dentist where you're working on one part of the body. Naturopathy looks at the whole person and it looks at a whole bunch of different modalities, not just one. And a lot of times when I'm working with a client having a consult, if they need to see, for instance, a podiatrist, I don't try to fix their problem. That's not in my wheelhouse. But I have a network of practitioners that are very open-minded and
Mm-hmm.
very good. I'll tell them, I can help you in these areas, but for your feet, you need to see Dr. So-and-so, and this is why. So it's really working with people to educate them. That's really what
Wow.
naturopaths do. You're educating the people, and they can make the decision: do they want to go down this road and help themselves, or keep going down the same road they're going?
And the nice thing is you're probably privileged with having what's missing for a lot of us is time with the actual patient.
Yeah.
I think one of the complaints of patients these days, I have 10 or 15 minutes and the doctor's looking at the computer for all of that. And how is a consult with you? How does it
Okay. The
happen?
first consult usually is an hour, and I ask people to send me a description of what's been going on that led them to where they are today. So a history going way, way, way back, because we're health-wise, we're where we are today because of everything that went on in the past. And usually the imbalance is back there. The
Mm-hmm.
symptoms are
Mm-hmm.
just the check engine light on the dashboard. It doesn't tell us what's wrong, and just turning that light off doesn't fix the problem. It lets us know, symptoms let us know something's out of balance. And we go through their medical records, we go through their history. It's a lot of it is asking some questions to get the discussion going, but listening, letting the patient tell their story, because there's so much information there that's so helpful. And the problem is in our mainstream model, and it's not the doctor's fault, it's the insurance company and the medical centers. They only have 15 minutes, 20 minutes with you.
Yep.
And how much of a history and a discussion and an understanding of how the person really feels can you get in 10 minutes? And then they have to document everything. So that even cuts the time down. One of the things naturopaths usually do, I know I do, is once we start a protocol, I ask the people, depending upon what's going on in a few days or a week, I want a phone call or an email. How are you doing? We ask the question all the time, how do you feel now?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just lab numbers, because I'm sure you run into it. People come in, their lab numbers are perfect, but they still feel terrible. And
Yep.
if the labs are good, a lot of practitioners, that's not the problem, but it could be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've had a few people say, this is the first time somebody listened to me and acknowledged what I'm feeling is real. And how sad is that, that, someone comes in and we already know what we're going to do just by looking at their complaints. That's not the way to do it. You have to learn about the person.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Let's try to give. I always like to say, if I look at someone or a certain diagnosis, there are a few tips I can give people that'll help. Let's say the 80 or 90% of people.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of go over for the general public watching this TV program. What are some kind of helpful tips that they may not have thought about that could really, really improve their health? Just some of the basics,
Okay.
not detailed. Let's give some good tips here.
Okay, a couple of good things. If you have inflammation, aches and pains, one, if you're overweight, you're carrying too much weight. You have to get that down. But how about cutting down on white sugar, white flour, and gluten? Those are very inflammatory, and they can affect your digestion, foggy brain, sleep problems, allergies. And what I tell people is try for 48 hours eliminating those three things. And then for dinner at the end of the 48 hours, have as much of any of them as you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you eliminate them even for 48 hours, you'll find you're less bloated, you sleep better, your mind is clearer, and energy's up. But what we notice even more is our energy level is down here all the time. Our normal should be up here. When you eliminate those, you start coming up. When you add them in, you go right down, and you notice the drop more than you notice feeling more normal. So those are big things. Stress reduction. Everyone, no matter how good your life is, we're all a little too stressed. Even if it means getting off the computer, or especially nowadays, don't watch the news 24 hours a day. A little bit in the morning and a little bit at night. Things will change and you can be up on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
How about, you and I were talking about going to the gym. A lot of people don't like that and they hurt themselves because they're not exercising right. What about going for just like intermittent fasting, the pulsing? So walk slow and then increase the speed and then slow it down. The up and down of the intensity gives you a much better workout than pushing yourself as hard as you can for 20 minutes or a half hour. How about going outside and taking 20 minutes every day once the weather gets nice, taking a cup of tea or coffee in the morning and just sitting on the front steps, watch the squirrels for a few minutes. Just start your day with a little vitamin D from the sun, so the air is nice and clean in the morning, and just don't turn on the TV or get on your computer or your cell phone. Just go sit down outside and take a few minutes. Little changes can make a huge difference.
That's great. Those are little changes that people can make, and they could revolutionize. Now, let's talk a little bit. I know you're an expert at this. How do people make even little changes? How are habit formations? What are the tips you give people? So you've talked about, let's say they find that cutting out sugar or flour or the white things, right grains helps. How do people make lifestyle change? Should they try to do everything at once? Everything you talked about, pick one at a time? Tell me some habit change help.
Everybody is different. Some people, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be 100%, and they can do that. What I tell people is start cutting down. And it doesn't necessarily, for most people, have to be all or nothing. If you decide you're going to cut out dairy and you're going to cut down on gluten, but you go out to eat, This is assuming you don't have celiac. Just gluten irritates you. When we can go out to a restaurant again, and you go out and they have this beautiful homemade multi-grain bread and some oil to dip it in, by all means, have it, because you deserve a reward. You're behaving yourself and doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with having a piece of cheesecake once in a while,
Mhm.
but not a half a cheesecake and not 4 times a week. My feeling is if you're going to have ice cream, have a small dish or cone of a real good ice cream, the full cream.
Mhm.
Don't get the low sugar, low fat, low everything, because you can eat a half gallon of it and still not be satisfied, as long as you're not eating a quart every day. So cut things down. If you're drinking coffee and you have 5 sugars in your coffee, you don't like coffee,
You like the sugar.
you like the sugar. So stop drinking coffee. So you don't need that. If you're going to need some sugar, don't use white sugar. Use the raw sugar or a little honey or a little stevia. And do things slowly, because if you change things slowly, the body can adapt, and you realize if you ever went back to the 5 sugars, you would probably say that's disgusting,
Hmm.
but you got so used to it that was the normal taste. So I say everything in moderation, the good and the bad. You
Yeah.
don't have to eliminate everything. You just can't do the bad all the time and
Mhm.
not do the good often.
That's great. Now, if people, do you have certain resources? I think in terms of healthy living, we need resources. So we have this talk. We're going to share this with the community.
Yeah.
What other resources do you recommend? YouTube, books? Do you have some
Well,
great
yes,
resources?
the internet is wonderful, but for every good site, there's
Yep.
somebody trying to sell you something.
Correct.
And they can, if you're a good marketer, you can make sand look healthy.
Hmm.
And so you have to know who you're dealing with and take the information with a grain of salt. Just like in news, nobody gives the truth, the whole story. You need to
Yeah.
get both sides. But YouTube is good. Our website, we have a lot of articles in our blog. We
Hmm.
research articles and then put them out there. We have a lot of lectures
I
and
saw those.
other lectures that we like. We have on our YouTube station channel. We have a podcast. Your station is excellent.
Hmm.
Your channel that you are doing, because you're researching the people to make sure the information going out is real information. It
Yes.
isn't a sales pitch.
Correct.
Um, you really have to be careful, because Dr. Google is so good. You type in something and you can find the answer you're looking for. That doesn't mean it's the right answer.
Hmm.
And so find some practitioners and find a store or a health and wellness center where the people are knowledgeable and they can give you some guidance for what to be looking for, and know, a face, your face, my face, a real person, not somebody on a website that has the most beautiful website you ever saw. It
Hmm.
might be the best website ever, but a lot of the things we used to get in the mail and a lot of the things you get in your email, they are beautiful, but a lot of times there's very little science behind it.
Yeah. Now, Gary, p- for those that have never been to a compounding or a natural food store or even
Yeah.
a naturopathic physician, w- they can just go and they should find one that they like. If they want to go to Johnson Compounding and Wellness, they can go to see yours. If they want
Yeah.
to see you, they can see you. When does someone have to say, hey, maybe I need to look for a naturopathic doctor, or maybe I need to do a consult, or are there ways that people can just ask questions to you or to naturopaths? How does that work?
Sure. Well, on our website, we have a ask question. You
Oh.
can just type in a question. It'll come to either me or Bridget or Tamara. We have 2 functional dietitians on staff, and we'll answer you. If you, once the social distancing is over, you can come into the store, and whatever the problem is, if it's something that's a couple of minutes and we can work through it and make a recommendation, we do. If it's something that requires a lot more time, we'll suggest that you set up a consult.
Perfect.
And the consults, even before COVID came along, in person is the best, but a lot of my clients aren't right in the area. So we offer video conferencing and also telephone consults. But for right now, you can call the Wellness Center. You can email me. I'm not there. I'm working remotely, but I'm
Yeah.
checking my email and my voicemail. And a lot of things are very simple, and it's a simple answer, and that's no problem. That's part of what we do. Other
Yeah.
times, if we think that's not the right way, we will recommend, it'd probably be a good idea to set up a consult time to really delve into this and put all the information together. But the natural food stores and the wellness centers, one time when things are back to normal, it's really interesting. You're going to see products and things that you didn't even know existed. And the staff in these type of stores are very helpful. You don't have to feel, I don't know what I'm looking at. You can ask questions and it'll be explained to you, because our main job is to educate.
Yeah, and I think that's what we started out with saying, Gary. Even if we have a prejudice or uninformed about something, you're not going to want to do it. But you have to get those questions answered. I think that's the bottom line. And if they want to ask questions or learn more, how would they contact you or your pharmacy?
They can get to me at Gary@naturalcompounder.com. Our website, of course, is naturalcompounder.com, and our phone number is 781-893-3870.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for the interview. Thanks for your time, Gary.
Thank you, and have a great day and stay safe.